The Cosmic Pearl welcomes you. And please, subscribe for more.
There is a relentless force in the cosmos. Time and space connect. And within it, a force beyond our vision, but not our reach. It lies somewhere in our universe, causing ripples in time, where the here and now is infinite.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Tonight, we're actually going to be discussing Rogue One, which is one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Actually, I wanted to let everybody know it was released 7 years ago to the day. And I guess first, I have to say the reason I love this movie, we're going to start with the end. So the first thing I have to say is seeing Darth Vader go through the ship and take out everybody before they finally were able to escape is one of the best scenes ever in any of the Star Wars movie. I think the action from this movie is one of the best, besides the third movie being one of the greatest action movies for Star Wars lightsaber movies. And this one is right up there. So I guess first I want to ask, what is everybody's opinion of Rogue One? I'll start with you, Calibus. What do you think about that movie?
I have mixed feelings because I grew up knowing that Kyle Katarn was the one who took the Death Star plans. And again, I always harp on Simon about legends and not being canon and everything else. But when you get, I understand it. When you get to that one point, like, no, that's not right, because this is what happened. And then Disney erases it and then gives you this lead. And they kind of erase this guy that did so much for the rebellion. It kind of, leaves a sour taste in your mouth. I love the droid. And the only thing that I could say that really saves this for me is that they all died at the end. And Vader standing, when that lightsaber went off, I was like, y'all all dead. And everybody just started busting out in the theater because, as fans, we know what Anakin, now Vader, is capable of. And these are just foot soldiers. There's not a Jedi amongst these people. You can say that they had a midichlorian count of whatever, or it was possible. They had zero chance of surviving that encounter with Lord Vader. And that, to me, the fact that Disney allowed them to kill all these people made it a great movie. It stuck to it because we knew that a lot of boffins died getting these plans and all this other stuff. And now you see how the plans go. So that ending part did it for me. Again, not a big fan of the movie, of the show Andor, because I know the end of his story. I really don't care how he got anywhere, but I can say this. Mon Mothma is a better character than the Andor character, and they just should have named that show Rebellion. And they could have got away with so much more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's true.
So, although this movie, we get to see Jeddah, if you're into the whole mythological part of Star Wars and knowing backstories. So when they start name dropping these places or you get to see them, it's always exciting. It's always exciting. So it is one of the better Star Wars movies. It doesn't make my top 5. Well, no, it does make my top 5, but it's not like ranking up there. You know what I'm saying? So I give it a pass. It's a passable movie.
All right. Good to hear. All right. Ms. Riza, what do you think about this movie?
I think of the new Star Wars movies that have come out, it's probably the best one, and that's because it's a complete story. It takes you from beginning to end. They don't leave any cliffhangers. You know when it ends because they're all dead. And I loved the feeling of they all knew that this was a suicide mission they were going on, that they were trying to pull off. There was no way they were going to survive this, and yet when they realized that there was no way they were going to survive this, they just doubled down and said, "Okay, this is for the rebellion." I think it's their sacrifice and their willingness to go through with their plans, knowing that they weren't going to survive, is what made it great.
Yeah, thank you. I have to agree with you. Everybody knew they were going to die, especially when you already know they didn't survive getting those plans out. So this kind of, seals it for you because you see exactly what happened. How about you, squad leader? Squad leader, what do you think of this movie?
I love and hate this movie. It's a wonderful story, but I hate how they slap the face of stuff that came before. They changed the Death Star plans. They changed how they got the Death Star plans. And we know they didn't hand it off to the Tantive 5 like they did in this, because we even hear Darth Vader say, we know the information was beamed to your ship. And that irks me that they changed that when they didn't have to. But other than that, everything else I truly enjoyed.
I definitely understand that because I agree because you think about the next one, A New Hope. You have a preset idea of what happened prior to that. This movie doesn't give you all of that. It does skirt on it though. You do get part of that story, but there are things that they did change that I wish they hadn't changed. But all in all, I still think it's a good story. How about you, Katra? What do you think of the movie?
It was good. I liked the fight scenes and everything. It's a good story from the beginning, seeing how they destroyed the city of Jeddah and giving the impetus to light that spark to get things done.
Thanks. Yeah, I definitely have to agree with that. All right, Sai, give us your opinion of this movie.
I absolutely loved it from the moment I saw it. I really thought it was great. The musical score was fantastic. The special effects were great. I did initially have a problem with the fact with the whole, Death Star plans, but I made a mental canon just with the fact that the Death Star itself is enormous. I mean, it is huge. You have to have engineering on just bathrooms, air conditioning, air air filtration. So to me, okay, Calamus, hold on. So the way I figured it was that you had to have Kyle Katarn pick up plans that were probably part of the sewage system. And he didn't know they were part of the sewage system. And then you had Jen Urso get her father's plans. So I mean, that's the only way I can think about it. Honestly, I really did think that you have different, and it would make sense with the Empire to segregate different parts of the Death Star plans to be separate. That way, if one part was compromised, they wouldn't all be compromised. I really liked. I liked how all the good people died in the end. It reminded me a lot of Empire Strikes Back when the good guys lose and they take a bloody nose. I think it's better than anything Disney otherwise has done, and I rank it probably just as high, if not higher, than the prequels.
Okay, that's nice to hear. All right, Big L, what you got?
Well, admittedly, I am not a big Star Wars fan. I don't hide that whatsoever. But when I heard you guys were talking Rogue One, I was like, I have to be on it because I absolutely love this movie, and I love it for the fact of like the other person said, it's a beginning story from beginning to end. It's just a complete story. You get to see certain aspects that you may have had questions about. Now, I don't know the lore about this other person y'all are discussing. I'll admit it that as far as things, but for me, it was a great story. It was a great kind of prelude to A New Hope. And you got to see some things that answer some questions. And like you said, when Darth Vader steps on that ship, and you see the fog and the smoke and everything, and the lightsaber comes on, you just know that hell and fury is coming, to everyone there. And being a villainous style person myself, I absolutely I love that. And then getting to see the CGI Carrie Fisher, character with Leia, just doing that was nice. But my main thing that I love about this movie, and I've said this time and time again, my main thing is this is not a Skywalker movie, and that's what I love about it most. Is just part that I love about this movie. It's not Skywalker related.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is one really good point because everything else has been about the Skywalkers. This one really isn't even about Jedi's at all. It's about the team getting the plans, which I think is great. The only lightsaber or force using you get to see in this movie is Darth Vader. That is it. And I think that's what made this such a good movie. So let's just start at the beginning. I want to start with some of the characters. So we have Galen Orso, played by Mads Mikkelsen. I think he did a fantastic job in the role. Ben Mendelsohn as Orson Krennic. I absolutely loved him in this character. Especially when you get the beginning of the movie when he lands on the planet and they want to hide everybody, like, oh, we're not here. All of my family's dead. So when you get the stormtroopers and all of those people landing on the planet, and then his Galen Orso's wife shoots the guy, and then they just kill her. I thought that was just a fantastic scene. So how do you guys feel about the beginning of this movie? I'll start with you this time, Big L. How did you enjoy the beginning of this movie when it first started?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great beginning story. You get some backstory. You get some overall context to what you're going to be watching. You see certain aspects that, again, you haven't seen in a Star Wars movie before. So for me, it was a great jumping off point, and then they could build off of that so well. So as far as the beginning of the movie goes, I don't think there's been a Star Wars movie that has started out so solid as the way that one did.
Great point. Thanks. All right, Sai, what about you?
I absolutely loved the beginning when you had that first scene and you see the shuttle coming in and you hear that music that that is an Imperial shuttle just by the music. That very heavy tone. You can see the shadow from the rings on the planet. It's ominous, and just the back and forth between the two main actors was great. The only thing that really irked me, even when I first saw it in the theaters, was why would they kill his wife? Why not stun her and use her as leverage?
Yeah.
Right then and there. That's it. That's the only problem I have with the beginning. It's like, why wouldn't they shoot her? They have the ability, unless the Death Troopers don't have that setting on their weapons. That's the only thing I can think of. They tried to shoot her in the shoulder, and they accidentally killed her. But that's what irked me. Everything else was just great.
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Sai, because if they kept her, he would have been, right under their fist the whole time,
Yep.
as long as they separated her from him and
Mhm.
let him know she's still alive as long as you're still working.
Yep.
Because he had no idea about either one of them. Well, his daughter surviving.
Right.
So yeah, you're absolutely right about that. All right, Kasra, how about you? What did you think about the opening to this movie?
It was well done. The only thing is, it would be very traumatic for their daughter to watch her parents get killed. That was something. And then when the guy that was supposed to find her found her in that little bunker, as it were, that was something.
Okay. All right, squadron leader. What about you? What did you think about this opening?
Well, I love that you got to see the Death Troopers. We've never seen Death Troopers in the cinema before. We've seen Stormtroopers, we've seen Scout Troopers, but to see Death Troopers, it really gave us something new. And then we get the misleading with her getting the kyber crystal necklace to give you the hint that she might turn out to be a Jedi, which didn't. It was just a red herring.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jen. What about you?
What I think of the opening scene, it was great. I mean, it laid the foundation for why Jen Urso would go on to do what she did, why she had such strong feelings against the Empire. The Empire took away her family. And there's nothing more traumatic for a child, I think, than that, to be separated from their family at such a young age. And to have this big, larger than life, all consuming bad guy in the shape of the Empire. I mean,
Absolutely.
you had to have the beginning to give her purpose. It really made you
Yeah.
understand her purpose, her motivation.
Yeah, when you say that, because yeah, she did witness them kill her mother, take her father, and then she hid in a thing. My only issue with that is when you look at when she was hiding in that cave down there, you can see her eyes, and if you just looked at that, they could have picked up that somebody's standing there staring at them. That to me was a little, oh, we don't see her eyes. That I had an issue with that part, but other than that, I thought that was still a very good opening scene. All right, Master Rand, what about you? What did you think of the beginning?
I loved it because Krennic was like, of course we're not just taking them, we're taking all of you. I was like, okay, damn, that opening scene was great. You know what I mean? That was something that's kind of set the tone of the movie. And I love a darker story. You know what I mean? I thought, and like Rob said, seeing the Death Troopers, for the first time, I thought that was cool. And we know this poor young girl is going to grow up to be a troubled woman because of what she saw with the Empire. You know what I mean? So she knows more than most what they're capable of, and she still has to live in that world. And then, unfortunately, she meets Saul Guerrero. So,
Absolutely. All right, Malik, welcome to the party. We were just discussing the opening of Rogue One and the confrontation between Galen and Orson Krennic. What do you think about that opening to that movie? Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I loved it. To me, the Rogue One is probably the best Star Wars movie except for the original trilogy. So the beginning of it laid down what the whole movie was going to be about, and to me, it was just great. It's like it was stated that it's a darker movie, and those are the best kind of movies that I think are out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Great movie. So I do want to bring up a few other characters. So first, we're going to talk about Donnie Yen. After they finally rescue Jyn Erso, they're looking for Saw Gerrera, and we get to Jedi. So we got a whole bunch going on. And you see the stormtroopers walking down the street. They're mining kyber crystals that nobody knows why they're mining them and taking them off Jeddah. And they're taking tons and tons of it, and nobody's helping out. But then, Jin lands, and you see an uprising where they're attacking the stormtroopers, and Jin and Andor get captured, and K2SO saves them, and then he walks away, and then finally we get Donnie Yen and his sergeant come up to help, and Donnie Yen takes out every stormtrooper blind. So, I want to get your opinion. What do you think of him in this movie? Because he's not a Jedi; he's just somebody that was at the temple. But what are your feelings about Donnie Yen and all of that action scene that happened on Jeddah? I'll start with you again, Master Rand. What do you think?
Donnie Yen's story for that. I thought he was part of the temple guard.
He was a temple. I can't remember if he was a guard or not. The other guy was a guard that had the weapon. What's his name? Sergeant Melsha, or
yeah,
he was a guard. But I think he was just a what do you call it? Like a person that was just there for prayer and something like that.
He was a spiritual warrior monk. I looked it up, and he has and it says he wasn't a Jedi, nor was he force sensitive.
Not one bit.
He was just a warrior monk, which makes him even more badass now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, like you said, this guy took out the stormtroopers, and I like this movie more because of the fact that it doesn't try to be funny. You know what I mean? You know how they kind of force the comedy in certain scenes or whatever else? I love it when they bet the bag over his head and he goes, "Are you kidding? I'm blind." You know what I mean? And, they cart him away. I love that. I thought it was, really done well. And I love the relationship between, him and his companion. You know what I mean? And I can't wait to talk about that one scene. So I love the character. I thought he was one of the best characters besides the droid in that whole thing.
Absolutely. All right. How about you, Rixa? What did you think of Donnie Yen and his companion when they took out all of the stormtroopers?
He was my favorite. He was probably my favorite character in there. And I love when he's just walking around with the Force, and the Force is me, and one with the Force, and the Force really whack, and takes about near impossible feats that they could pull off. I mean, I loved everything about the character, and he was funny without trying to be funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great all-around character. I hate that he died on Jeddah. Really.
Yeah,
I'd love to know his backstory. What brought him to the path of a warrior monk.
Yeah, that's true.
That's about all I got to say about it.
Okay. All right, you squadron leader, what do you think?
I loved his character and the way he played off of his friend. They had their own little rhythm going. They knew each other. They knew what to expect. And he didn't try to oversell it. He played the character as good as anybody else could have.
Thanks. Yeah, I have to say Donnie Yen is one of my favorite action stars to begin with. So this was great to see him in this role. And if you ever seen John Wick 4, yeah, he kind of does the same role again in that. So absolutely fantastic. Big L, what do you think of that?
That character, I gotta admit, when I watched the movie the very first time, I thought he was a Jedi. I again didn't know the lore, so I honestly thought he was a Jedi. And then when someone explained to me that he wasn't, I was like, but he was doing all this cool stuff or whatever. And so the fact that he was not force sensitive, not a Jedi, but could still create that much havoc and take down all the stormtroopers by himself, uh, just by his training as a monk, and that was just. And then his companion with that gun that he's got. I'm just like, yes, I want me a BFG.
Don't we all, right? All right, Sai, what about you?
Honestly, I thought Donnie was perfect casting. I mean, if you've seen any of his previous work, you know how good of a martial artist he was, and I'm sorry, is. And just with the fact that he was able to do the stunts that he did, it was great. And the fact that he's not force sensitive, but the force is with him. So he's basically being guided by the force. Everything he does is being guided by the force, even though he's not force sensitive. And I love that. I don't like the whole everyone is a Jedi kind of deal nowadays. I love the fact that he's letting himself being guided. I also love the fact that his companion was an even bigger believer of the force, but was in fact hurt by everything that happened with the Jedi falling. But he uses his repeater with the force because his aim is so good. I just absolutely love the character and the little comedy bits. I forgot who said it, but like when he said, "Are you kidding me? I'm blind." I love
Yeah.
that scene, even though I kind of understand it because he could probably still see
Yeah,
with his other senses. To be honest with you,
yeah,
um,
that was funny though.
that was great, and the fact that he knew the face of Cassian. He asked his buddy, "Does he have the face of a killer?" And it's like he could read him through the Force, even though he wasn't the Force sensitive. Was he able to sense it through his voice, his some type of other energy he was giving off? I just love that because there are other aspects of different beliefs in the Star Wars universe that are not necessarily Force, and I love this about this character.
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. That's true. Miss Katra, what about you? What do you think of Donnie Yen?
The actor and the character he portrayed were exquisite. The movement, the flow that he created. And I love the staff. The fact that we find out that it's actually a crossbow is even more amazing. His friend grumbled a lot, but they got along just fine. And the droid was actually kind of the comic relief, I think.
That's true. Yeah, he definitely was comic relief. All right, Malik, what do you think of Donnie Yen and his companion?
I thought between him and Baze, the chemistry between them was amazing. Um, they picked the two right people to play the characters. Trying to think what else. I mean, the whole, like everyone likes the whole blind part when when he puts the cover on his head and then he says he's blind. The other thing I noticed though in the movie is that he's the only one that did not trip. Everyone else stumbles around and he does not. So it's kind of amazing. Being not force sensitive, the way he can do things was amazing. So, but yeah, really good characters.
Actually, I didn't pay attention that he never tripped, which is kind of true. But yeah, for somebody who can't see, he sure did see better than everybody else. All right, from there we go to see Saw Gerrera, and we actually get to meet the pilot that's defecting from the Empire with all the plans. And of course, Saw has the Bugala take his brain to try to make sure he's telling the truth because too many people are coming to see him all of a sudden, and he's kind of worried about that. So, then at this time we get to see the Death Star for the first time, fully functional. That's just doing a test run. So, We're only going to do one reactor, just blow up Jeddah right quick, just one little shot. We're going to see how this goes into, how the actual Death Star functions. Now, for me, I love this scene because when you get the original movie, you only see the Death Star fired one time when it destroys the planet. That is the only time we've ever get to see the Death Star used. This movie, we've gotten to see the Death Star used multiple times just to see exactly what it can do. And I love it when, after Jen and Saul watch the video of Jen's father, and you get to, he says he's put a flaw in the Death Star that they can use to try to destroy it. But then you see the Death Star looming over the horizon, and it looks like a moon, on the horizon, and then it fires, and you see the plumage and the destructions that it caused from one reactor just destroying one city. So I want to get your opinion of the Death Star and that scene. What do you guys think about that? And I'll start with you this time, Rixa. What do you think of that scene?
It was scary. It had to have been for the people on the ground, that saw this thing come looming over the horizon, and all of a sudden there's just, this beam of light and this ancient sacred city is reduced to rubble. I mean,
Jen, I think.
Yeah, that was a great scene. Urgent,
Okay.
let's take this out. And also why they were suspicious of, oh, well, we have this plan and there's this flaw, because it's this monstrous thing. It'd be like,
That's true.
It'd be like us trying to go up, one of us trying to go up against some other country's nuclear arsenal alone.
Yeah. But I have the Force. All right, Malik, what do you think of this?
How much sunscreen do you have?
That scene, I mean, just to show the Death Star and when it first comes online, it really took me back to when first time seeing it in A New Hope. It was very powerful. I mean, like I say, it scared probably the crap out of everybody on the planet. And now the whole universe knows about it, or they're going to find out about it. And it kind of takes me back to when Shuret says that every star, the Kyber is the heart of every strong star. And that kind of goes along with the Death Star. It now has the heart of Kyber, and it's a very strong star. So I thought that was kind of interesting wording that they put in the movie there. But yeah, it was good to see it in like whole Death Star actually being used.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Big L, what's your opinion of that?
The fact that you see this ominous object, that they're having to look up and they see this ominous object, come over, and they have no idea what impending doom is coming their way. The fact that I mean, even you think of it, in real life, if we were to look up in the sky and see some massive, alien-esque object that we've never seen before, we don't know what's going to happen, and it could be our, impending destruction. So to think of that in real terms, that's got to be frightening. But the way I think what I want, the best part about that is the score of how they, the music that they played with that made it that more intense. So for that scene to just be so relevant to everything you would see in the the other movies going forward, or the original prequels or original sequels. I mean, they were good. The original three trilogy. Seeing how it all kind of started. So that for me was just a great scene.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, squadron leader, what's your opinion of that?
I love the imagery we got of it coming up over the horizon and all the background imaging that we got in it, and that they didn't just blast the entire planet. They cut the power to, I think it was like 25%, and still about blew up the entire planet with the shock wave from it. It was just great.
Yeah, that's true. Because when you look at that, when I see it, you think about a nuclear bomb going off, and you see the mushroom shape, and then the height at which it went into atmosphere from that one explosion was just, it was devastating. All right, Miss Katra, what about?
That was a pretty powerful blast if it shot that much land mass up into the atmosphere like that. It makes you wonder what other damages happened to the planet after everything settled. So that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought about what damages after the fact. Sai, your opinion?
It might be a little controversial, but I have to agree with Krennic. It was absolutely beautiful. The amount of power and death it was. I mean, all right, and putting that all to the side, it reminded me a lot of America dropping the bombs in World War II, and when they said, "Well, we need to make a statement," right, and then eventually they destroy Alderaan to prove to the rest of the galaxy, hey, we can do this. That reminded me a lot of what happened on Japan. The first one, oh, it could have been a fluke, but then we dropped the second one to prove, oh yeah, we can keep doing this. And it was the same thing here. So it was an incredible scene, just expressing what the Empire was willing to do, the absolute power of destruction and not caring. It was a beautiful scene in all aspects. It was horrible, but horror can be at the same time.
Absolutely. I definitely understand that. So, yeah, when you think about it, what was that movie that just came out this summer?
Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Oppenheimer. Yeah, I was thinking about that.
Yes.
When he didn't realize if it was actually going to destroy the entire planet when he set off the nuclear bomb, or if it was just going to do the damage that it did. So, same
like
thing,
Galen
right?
Orso. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, Krennic's character is based off Oppenheimer.
Oh, okay. I can see that now. All right, Master Ann, what about you? What do you think of the Death Star?
Watching Jeddah go up, was one of those things where you were just like, there's nothing going to be able to stop these people. You know what I mean? With a weapon like that, and then watching Saul take off his mask and wait for his death, this freedom fighter, this, with dubious tactics, I should say. Unlike the Imperial sympathizer we have on our board, the historian.
I knew it. As soon as I saw your face, I knew it. I was like, he's gonna come at me.
I just, I just saw it as something that, that's just something that no one should have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, you know what I mean? If you're gonna take control of the galaxy and make sure that they fear you, that is the weapon that you want.
Yeah.
Period. Period. It lets you know that the Empire is here. They're here to stay. And, if you rebel, you will be put down. And that's the statement they made with Saul Guerrero. You're gone. You know, anybody else? You know?
Yeah. So I have to agree with you. And then one thing I forgot to mention is that we got to see Grand Moff Tarkin in that scene,
Yes.
and Peter Cushing passed away. At that point, would have been 20 years that he had passed away when that scene was filmed. So I absolutely loved him as Grand Moff Tarkin. Amazing character. So he did what he always does, fire when ready, So love that. Now we're gonna move on to, when Jen and they finally go back, talk about what she saw, even though nobody else saw the plans about there being a flaw in the Death Star, and then they go to try to get her father from the planet, and then of course they land there, and as you said earlier, that Donnie Yen understood that, hey, I think his gun is in sniper position when he's going to meet her father. He's not going to take him in; they're just going to kill him there. And then we have the stormtroopers coming in. So there's a huge battle there. A lot of people die, but they did get an Imperial shuttle to bring back, and that's when they decide that they're going to go to try to get the Death Star plans. So even though they talked to what is her name? Mon Mothma. She disagreed with this, but they still came up with their taking the shuttle. They named it Rogue One, and they went and they had old plans. We've got an old code that we're going to use to try to get through the shield, and then they land, and then they take out the beach. Now, I absolutely love when they're on the beach, they take different positions, set up bombs, and then K2SO says, we have a 33% chance of making it to the vault to try to get the plans. And he said, light them up, and then they just start blowing up different sections. And then they were able to get to the plans to try to find out what they're looking for. So going with that scene where you got all of these rebels on the beach, blowing up stuff, taking out ships. What do you guys think about this scene that's going on and how they're planning to get this information off the planet? So I'm going to go with you again, Master Rand. What do you think about what's going on with that?
It was a brilliant tactic. Come on, man. They made them, the small group, they made them think that an army was down there. The only thing, I feel sorry for the poor pilot. That poor guy, keep the ship running. That's the worst job. That's like the getaway driver. But, he's right there where the enemy is coming out at. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And he's got to maintain his post because that's the only way they're getting off this rock. And I just felt bad for him. I mean, again, for the first time seeing it, we all think that Disney is not going to allow these characters to die. You know what I mean? It's a Disney film. Disney's never going to kill these guys off. This is crap. We're enjoying the film, but in our mindset, we know Disney isn't going to do this. Right? So we're just enjoying it as it's going along, going, okay, wait for the save, and how is this going to go? You know what I mean? And but that, you do here, light them up, you do here. They sneak into the base, and I think K2 he had to do something with the droid. He really found it like distasteful or something that he didn't want to do. I love that.
He actually plugged into another droid to take
another droid. The droid's sitting there with his eyes blinking. I thought that was a real good scene. I thought it was a good scene.
Absolutely. Sai, what's your opinion?
Honestly, I loved every bit of that ending, to be honest with you. I loved everything, how K2 died, and I love the fact how there was emotion. Even though he was an android, he had emotion. He loved Cassian. Now, it made you think, well, was he programmed to do that, or did he fall into that? And just that last scene between Andor and Jin at the end was just fantastic. I do agree with Calibus. The pilot, holy crap, he got screwed every step of the way. It's like he wholeheartedly felt, oh yeah, I'm gonna defect. These guys are gonna treat me right. No, they didn't know. They sucked his brain out. Literally, they sucked his brain out. I felt bad for him, and I didn't like that one guy that was like his lieutenant for Saul Guerrera. The one guy that was like, oh yeah, we searched him, we found this. Um,
Yeah.
but one of the things I wanted to address was I love how they ended Saw's character line because I had been following it since Clone Wars, and I saw how he mentally broke in that first episode when his sister was killed, and ever since that it was like a downgrade. Even through Rebels, you saw it, and then with this, that was really great storytelling. How they, I think Dave Filoni was probably involved with the overall arc of Saw Gerrera. I I just loved it.
Yeah, absolutely. I forgot about that where, when his sister died in the cartoon. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's absolutely true. And like you were saying, we're gonna see K2SO probably in the second season of Andor. So we can figure out, like you said, what happened or how he got
Hmm.
to the point that he is now. So let's hope it's better than season one, right? Well, for
Yeah.
me, I'm hoping it's better than season one. I know you enjoyed it.
Not just you. Not just you.
Okay, yeah, I didn't enjoy it, but I'm hoping they'll see something better. All right, Ms. Katra, what about you? What did you think of the battle on the beach?
Oh, it brought back a lot of memories that I played war games when I was in the military. So that was nice to re-experience it through their eyes as to where to go, what to set up, and what communications you've got to get to where.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely did happen. I mean, I love when we talk about the pilot again. He was like, get on the line, tell them that we got 15 people out on this beach. Somebody else, hey, tell them there's 20 on this side. So he had miscommunication going on everywhere. So they didn't know how many people were down there to begin with. Imperial Squadron Leader, what's your opinion of that?
I feel the shore troopers should have been better organized. They were a grounded army. They should have had all these contingencies for that. Plus, there should have been probe droids all over the place there for just such an occasion. Uh, but other than that, the battle was good. I liked it, but the little things kind of got to me.
Okay. Now I have to say they have a shield. Who's getting through that shield that they would need anybody on the planet for such a situation? You can't break through that shield. That's why they had that small section that
But they
everything
did.
had to pass through. So, the only reason that the starships got through, the X-wings and everything, is because they flew through while a ship was trying to go down, and before they closed it, and then two ships blew up on the shield, and it's around the entire planet. So I think they were too confident in what they looked at. They wouldn't have any type of support on ground for anything, any type of evasion. They were looking more in space, not on the planet. That's just my opinion of that.
I definitely agree.
All right, Big Al, what's about you?
That was I looked at that scene every time I watch that. I honestly think of paintball. Every time I watch that scene where they're kind of storming the beach and all of that, I think of how when I was playing paintball, how we would set things up, and we might have been just a few people, but we could do some damage if we found the right targets. So that's kind of how I equated that. And the fact, what Sai said is the ending scene with Jen and Cassian there, and they're kind of staring off and kind of hugging each other, that kind of thing, as it basically blows over them. that scene it's still hard kind of to watch because you know what's coming. Like if you've seen it a couple times, you know what's coming, but you still don't want to see it. You don't want to watch it. You know, it's like I know this is happening. Like I've seen the movie, I know this is going to happen, but I don't want to see it. So it's a very ominous scene, and I enjoy it a lot.
All right. Malik, your opinion?
I love the way it was set up. But for me, a lot of it was they brought back a lot of the old footage from Star Wars that wasn't used in A New Hope. Wedge Antilles' voice is heard. They brought back the Blue Squadron. But the whole setup, I mean, it was designed more likely they knew they weren't going to come back. I don't think the Empire was expecting anything like this, that the rebels either were not that well armed or not that well strategically ready to do something like a raid like this. The whole scene where they I love the way they confused them, and then even it shows it when Krennic's up there that the Empire had no idea what to do, and Krennic had to tell him you need to call the squadrons out to get them moving. So the whole visual of the whole thing when they brought out the the cargo AT-ATs, that was a nice touch. Kind of reminded you like a little bit of Hoth, but in the Caribbean. Loved it. The whole with Jin and oh my gosh, Cassian were able to get into the room where the K2SO had to do things. The whole thing was well planned, very well shot. The music was great. Loved the whole thing about it. So, and I did have one thing that when Bodhi Rock, the pilot, used the code to get in the shield was SW0608. It stood for Star Wars. 06 was stood for 6 main characters of this movie, and it's also the 8th movie in the Star Wars. Being eighth, Rogue One was the 8th movie to be released in the Star Wars universe.
Oh, okay. That's cool. I didn't even know that, but yeah, now that you said it, it makes a lot of sense. All right, Ms. Rixa, what about you? What do you think of the beach scene?
It was a great scene and a great ending. I mean, it kind of made me think of Shakespeare, actually, Richard III. You know, they're up against impossible odds, and I didn't think for a minute that Disney wouldn't kill those people because Disney's killed every parent for every character that's ever come through Disney. So I didn't put it past Disney to kill everyone. I was just artfully done, and the end when Jen and Cassian are watching, basically a new sun in the sunset come across, and they know that it's the end. I mean, it brought me to tears. I don't know about anybody else, but it was beautiful. It was Shakespearean Star Wars.
Yeah, it was very sad when that happened. I was surprised that they killed everybody, especially, we have the everybody on the beach died fighting. You had the pilot who plugged in, got everything set up, then he died, so he created the opening for them to get the information up to the ship. Jen got the antenna aligned correctly. Then you see Krillic show up. I thought she was going to kill him, but they let him live, so he can see the Death Star kill him. So that was pretty cool. And then you got everything else going on. And then when they get the plans up to the ship, as I said when we first started, this was the best scene ever. Watching that red lightsaber light up, you hear him breathing, and then, I'm just going to say it like it happened. Shit's about to go down. Everybody's fucked. This is it. This is all that's about to happen. So they do their best, and I love that they shot at him. It's like, what else are you going to do? They're going to shoot, and then he pulls the guns out of his hand. He throws the one guy on the ceiling. cuts that guy in half as he's walking by him. And then the one guy's like, "Help me get this door. Forget the door. Just take this lance and let's go." Yeah. So, and then at that point, we get to see Princess Leia, on the ship, and she was like, What is this?" And she says, "A New Hope." And then the ship takes off, which I think was just fantastic, which leads into the other movie. But just with that, again, how do you guys feel about the way this one ended in comparison to the way the next one starts? So it kind of hopefully tied it all up for everybody, that they get like we said, it was a complete story, but we also get to see a beginning to the other story. So this time, Si, let me start with you. How did you feel about that ending with the beginning that is about to happen in the New Hope?
I'm sorry. Are you talking to me?
Yes, Si.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear Si quite. I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was as soon as you saw that lightsaber, because that's all you could see. The imagery was great, and you knew everyone was screwed, to put it politically correct. And I loved how, like you said, I loved how the guy said, "Don't worry, just take the disc." Oh no, we're gonna die. Yeah, and the fact that he did that with people, where he actually put them against the ceiling, and he used the Force to kill people, or he used them to better impale them with his lightsaber. I loved it. I thought it was great. The ending, and oh, I meant to say something. I have the original broadcast on VHS and the CD of the original broadcast of Star Wars. And in one scene, they're talking about how the Empire is going to activate a system where they can listen in on every single conversation on the entire planet of Chandrilla. And so they have to transmit their information before the system activates. So that's one of the old things that they did with, transmitting information about the stuff. So I just wanted to get that out there before the show ends. But
Okay.
the ending was great. I loved it. I know I know I know that. I know who puts that out there. It's great. I got nothing other than that to say.
All right. Thanks, Si. Master Rand, your opinion?
The ending was great. I mean, the only thing is, I think they everybody has that Superman thing where the gun runs out of bullets and then they chuck the gun at Superman. I mean, bullets didn't stop him. Throwing a gun at him ain't. I just felt so sorry for those guys, because when I saw that red lightsaber, I knew they were all gone. There was just no way. But I love that ending. Him on the platform, sword out, watching the shuttle go away, and then we get, I guess, what is the deep fake Leia, or whatever they want to call it, the CGI Leia. We've come a long way since then, obviously. But to see those characters like that for the first time, Grand Admiral Tarkin, Leia, was nice. I also want to remind everybody that we got to see Vader on Mustafar, and he told Krennic not to choke on his aspirations as he choked him. Classic Vader. I mean, we got to see that, and then of course there he is at the end of the movie, which again, for me, made the movie. Seeing them, all die, and I'm like, wow, Disney let that go. I mean, yeah, they killed one or two parents in, Lion King. One parent died or whatever else, but there was always still another parent. You know what I mean? But this was everybody. Everybody. And that made it hopeful that they were going to give us, pretty good movies after that. Sadly, that was not the case. But we did get to see, you could take Rogue One and the first 3 trilogy movies and stop right there and be good. You know what I mean? You don't need anything else really. I mean, you could have the prequels if you wanted to, but if you wanted to really do something, Rogue One in the first 3 movies and be good. So I think it's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Big L, what's your opinion of that?
Oh, 100% I agree with Calibus. That, that ending, what he said, as far as take that and the other 3 is great. The one thing I love about that ending going into A New Hope is it's a continuous story. There's not any, it's been 10 years since this. You ain't got to read all this, whatever. It literally picks up right there. And it leads into one of the greatest spoofs of all of Star Wars when the stormtrooper, the Imperial trooper walks through there and hits his head on the top of the little opening there or whatever. He bangs his head. To me, that's probably the greatest scene in all of Star Wars to watch him smack his head, and they just kept right on going with it. So yeah, I think it was just a great continuation of that segment.
Thanks. Yeah, I have to agree, and that is funny about the smacking of the head. So can't wait to watch that scene again. Squadron Leader, what's your opinion of the movie ending to the next movie?
I love, if we back up just a little bit, when we see the rebels try and just get away, and the extraterrestrial comes flying in, and we see the rebels jumping out and jump right into the extraterrestrial, and we see that the later movies is total BS, where they go through Snoke's ship. Lightspeed doesn't rip through other ships, but then we get this wonderful scene with this Corvette, the Hammerhead Corvette, pushing the Star Destroyer into the other Star Destroyer, which was one of the best scenes ever in space battles. Seeing them blow up like that, leading to Darth Vader coming in after them and tracking them down to get the plans. It led right into the next movie perfectly, other than they beamed the information, they didn't hand it off.
Yeah, I definitely understand that part. So yeah, that's true. Ms. Contra, what about you? What do you think of the ending of this to the new one?
Well, it was a good ending. It was interesting that the soldier that handed the disc to the people that were leaving in the Hammerhead Corvette, that he got run through with Vader's saber right after he had handed that to them. So, but all in all, it was a good ending for a good beginning.
All right. Ms. Frickler, what's your opinion of the ending?
I thought it flowed perfectly into A New Hope. I mean, and it really made A New Hope mean more because you knew what kind of sacrifices led up to that point in New Hope. It also made Luke Skywalker a little bit more irritating too. About I want to Tashi Station and pick up power converters. These people just died for this information that's stuck on your droid.
Yeah, that is true. Thinking about it that way, yeah.
Well, Luke didn't
I
know.
love
Luke didn't know, though. I mean, you guys are you're killing Luke because he didn't know that
Luke was a brat in the first movie.
So was Anakin.
So was his dad.
Yeah.
Oh no,
Luke
his
was
dad
a
was a
brat.
bigger brat. I mean, Anakin whined throughout 3 movies, and good lord,
Well, they're Skywalkers. What do you
True.
expect?
Like father, like son. There's more continuity for you.
Of course, he was a brat. He was being protected by his uncle, and he was really chafing on.
And
those
everybody
chains.
called him Wormy.
Yeah, and he liked what's her name? I can't remember her name now. Damn it.
Who? Wendy? Not Wendy.
No, not Wendy.
Fixer.
Cammy.
Cammy, thank you. He really likes Cammy, and all those other people in his in that town. They really didn't like him because he was really good at the cannon run, even though he was younger. And honestly, he really wanted to go out, but his uncle wouldn't let him because his uncle was trying to protect him. So of course he was a bit of a brat, a bit of an asshole.
Okay.
I'm
All right,
sorry.
Malik, your opinion of the movie's ending?
I wish they'd left the original deleted scene in it.
I agree.
I think ending was spot on. The only thing I kind of bugged me a little bit was how fluid Vader was when he was fighting the troopers. Then we get him in New Hope, and he's very stilted. I know it's two different actors, but I know in a Rogue One they went through a lot of pain to make sure that it was shot, the style was done from 1977, so it matched A New Hope. And then just that whole scene seemed a little bit out of it because he was just so fluid, so powerful. And then in A New Hope, he wasn't the same person, or didn't act the same way. So that's one thing that bugged me a little bit. So, but besides that, the ending, perfect.
Yeah, I got to agree with you on that because I've seen a fight scene between Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader on the on the Death Star, where it is way better than what was shot 40 years ago. But, I guess we got what we got then compared to what we could get now. So it's kind of sad because, it should have been a way better scene than what was done. So
plus you had Alec beginning, and you had to take in his age.
True. Yeah, that's true. So at this point, the whole scene would have probably been CGI back then in order to make it look as good as it should have looked. Well, I guess, guys, that we've been over an hour now. That's going to end it for Rogue One. Next time, we're going to be discussing A New Hope. I'm not sure, when are we coming back? I guess sometime next year, Master Rand?
Yeah, I'm looking at January 6th, if you're good with it. Aren't you doing New Hope?
I am doing New Hope.
Yeah,
so
January 6th.
All right, then. So I guess take us out tonight.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the path of a galaxy far, far away. Although we were missing a couple of members, we have Malik joining us back into the fold. And of course, we have our Mandalorian Oris joining us. I know she hates it when I don't use her first name. I like that Oris part. I thought that was pretty strong. And we had Big L from 757 Geek Fandoms joining us. And of course, the Imperial Renegade himself, Mr. Rob Ash, and our Priory historian Simon. Thank you all. And was that Katra, who's Katala, and I don't know why she's changing her name now, but from the Proud Warriors of Kronos. Guys, we'll be back in January. Whole new theme song, putting us back into the mix of things. And until then, may the Force serve you well. And please be kind to one another.